Nico tayo. Ironically, the song Bad Habit, Alice, uh, we hear this. Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I would like to welcome you back to my channel on YouTube, Spirit itself. I'm live on TikTok, One Light and Soul. I'm also live on Facebook. If you're new to my channel, I always recommend, suggest, and really encourage you to subscribe on my YouTube channel, Spirit itself, so you can get a better understanding of what it is that we do on the channel. I need to laugh, I need to cry, I'll push you off, you'll want to punch me up the head, and you'll energetically gang up on me. It's not hard. You love me, hate me, like me, loathe me. It's hear me out. It's a challenge. Hear me out, because I use a lot of my own life experiences. My whole life. I'm not ashamed of my life. I nobody should be ashamed of their life. We go through things, and it's that part of today. I'm talking about the religious rabbit hole again, and that's why the song is bad habit, bad habit. Because we go down the rabbit hole. Okay? I like this song, and it was ironic because it's labeled as rabbit hole and Alice in Wonderland. And I was at the library today, and the library where I'm at, in October, they're having a gala, and the gala, it's Alice in Wonderland theme. And today I went somewhere and went down a rabbit hole to kind of get some information, because I was told that Donald Trump had friends on Sands Island that sang the poems. So this all to me, people, it's like I use that time, I use biblical times, I use Adam and Eve, I use my own stories, and I just pick and I see my surroundings and what have you, and that's how I come to what happened. Okay? My channel is not for everyone. I'll make you laugh and I'll make you cry and I'll piss you off. Like I said. So today I'm focusing on Jezebel, but I'm looking through with regards to Mary, Joseph, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, what have you. I'm looking back at Adam and Eve, at Cronus and Gaia, Uranus and Gaia, and it's all the same storyline. If you look at your own life, you can actually see it. Today I went to a museum, and I went in there, and I was talking to the woman there, and I told her, I exercise groups, okay, because the spirits, the ones you call Jezebel, they're out here. They want their story told. So that's the part of we are the mediums, we are the in between, we are that channel, and that's why we're feuding more than usual. Okay? Now, when I didn't really look at Jezebel, so I'm channeling it, but I have a book here of an encyclopedia of spirits, and ironically, Tara is in there okay? And coincidence, hey, I know I've tried a number of times, right? We're all, your name is there. You are a spirit. It may not be your actual human given name that you go by right now. That's the part of the awakening, and I'm here to help with that. And I may not come off real conventional, and I may come off as a bitch, an asshole, fuck, ignorant, rude. I blame it on the ADD, the dad, because you take the A and you switch it with the D, and you got dad, right? And you're all saying the father, a jealous father. Yes. So I went down like with Abel, Caleb, Seth, Cain, and because I see it. And a lot of people, they don't get that because you're set in a program and you're going by what you've been told by a certain group or a certain individual, and you're not taking the time to actually sit with yourself. But then some will say, well, I don't care about that. Okay. If you don't care about that stuff, then why do you get so angry with other people who do? I'm just saying. Well, I'm asking because it's a legitimate question. If it didn't irritate you so much, why would you be so put out and angry with somebody else going and looking into things different? A lot of people don't want to do that because what happens is you may not be aware of it, but you're actually, you get stirred up because you're demons, you're demonics, okay? The demons are actually deep memories, okay? And they go back throughout the line because whatever you've experienced, well, it was in your line and it just kept repeating itself. So that's why they say we have curse breakers and why not. And Jesus was one of those people, where you say, some say Yeshua, some say Jesus, but they were in two different timelines. And that's what a lot of people don't understand because the different people, okay? If Jesus only picked certain individuals, or he had followers, he only picked certain individuals, then if you look at them, or you look at Horus, like everybody had their the 12 uh, the 12 tribes of Israel. You say, okay, right now Israel. Well, 11 generations in my family was Levi Lahidi, Levi, and they were all rabbis. That was on my mom's side. Okay. Was I religious? No, I'm not religious. But I am trying to help you sort it out so that, because they're stirring up. They're not only stirring up in the earth, but they're stirring up in you. And that's why some you get, you have that calmness. Some are just belligerent, oblivious, and they're belligerent. See, what people don't realize, okay, the story of Jezebel. Everybody says, oh, a Jezebel spirit, Jezebel spirit. You also say, like I heard it on the radio, like I don't know, it was fairly recent, like past spring, summer, that they had said about this paranormal guy that had a Jezebel doll and died the next day or what have you. People like to say that. You say that a lot in the spiritual world. You say Jezebel spirit, Jezebel spirit. Why do you keep making Jezebel so bad? Do you know his story or his? You know, could it be Jesse, son of Abel? Or could it be Jezebel, Jesus, son of Annabelle? I'm asking because it's that part just stepping back and seeing it because everybody had like people have a familiar story, whether it's your own story or whether it's the story that's been brought down from timeline to timeline. You call them generations. That's a timeline. And sometimes you're moving through those times. You're seeing through that veil. You're seeing timelines and you're fighting over them. when I went in to this place, to the museum today, I was walking in, and I was just walking in like normal, and I came in around the corner, and I started walking to the table, and all of a sudden, it was like, stop, and I went, this, and it was like circle like this. Because I was trying to find out what was trying to get my attention, and there was a spirit, and the girl, she came out from around the corner, and I said, I'm just here, I'm doing a little jig. I said, I feel something. I said, there's something around here that's like, calming. And I just happened to look beside him, this big ass freaking Bible from the 1800s. And it was like, holy pizza. Right? So it was that spirit showing me because I was there with regards to trying to figure out with regards to Jessica. Okay? But I was getting some information with regards to the province of Nova Scotia and the islands around it. Okay? Because let's take for instance, okay, because like it said that Mary Magdalene was from France and she ran. Where did they all run to? The East Coast. You're looking for the East Coast overseas. Because it wasn't like a president or something like that kind of cause, and you're focused over there, but you're not seeing what's really happening in the East. Where is the real war? Why are all eyes on the United States and Canada? Okay, let's see. The immigrants in 1749 to 1752, they come over from, from the UK, European countries, and like all Germany, okay? They come over. Where did they come? They came to Nova Scotia. There's Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is the east to Canada. You know, they call it the East Coast, right? Okay, now you take a gander over in the States, United States, right? Okay. So now I want you to sit back and okay, you people know where Donald Trump is. Okay? So if you look on the map, you can say, oh, okay, the east. Where is the present pulled from? It's still the east. So why they have you distracted looking over there? Well, the real fight is at home. And it's still the British and the French. The Roman Empire and the fight Mary Magdalene. You know, half the Acadians, half the Indians took the side of the British, half took the side of the French. It's still happening. So why would it be happening? Okay, because now you have, let's take, okay, you have the Muslims and the Palestinians, okay, Muslims and Jews, Palestinians and Israelites. You know, see, when I was looking into this, okay, Caleb, I have it up here. It's like Israel, Israel, right? The Judah, Judea and Judaism, and all around that. I know, like when I said Judaism, people got offended because my body changed. But did you not know? Okay, there's two forms of Christianity, the same as there's two forms of Jewish. Okay? This is going to piss people off. Half the Jewish and half the Christians came together, right? You know, you say the Jewish didn't believe it how they believe or what have you, right? And then you have the other Christians that are strict Christians, which are much like, I'll say it, the Muslims, okay? Magdalene was not born of the church. She was adopted into it, right? Yeah, she'll look up for it because she was, I believe she was the daughter of Mother Mary, and Jesus was the grandson. Okay, you say Mother Mary, she had a baby in you said when she was 15. And you say was Jesus was actually Yeshua. And people got irritated with that because you like to say that Mother Mary is the mother of Jesus. How do you know that the Mother Mary they're not referring to isn't Mary Magdalene? Or no, how you pronounce it. I know people say it, her name is Mary, but you just for biblical purposes. When you really, if you sit back, is it possible? Because the way they said that Mary Magdalene was, they same as Mary Magdalene or Mother Mary, when you class Mother Mary, she was raped prior to having Yeshua, but it was a dirty secret. So that's why they had to say that, you know, the baby was a virgin, that Yeshua was a virgin. Because, you know, you couldn't have that because it brought shame to the family. Look, people would say it was like a star-crossed lover. The two that, when, no, that would have been Jesus first with regards to Jesus. Because Mother Mary was raped by Satan. And as I said before, I believe Mother Mary was raped by Jesus' father. And Peter was brought up not knowing the truth. You know, because it was two Peters. Okay. And did the other Peter and Mary Magdalene have Jesus together when she was like 14, 15, and they pulled them apart? And Mother Mary took Jesus as being holy. Because you do, people, I have heard people say that when Jesus found Mary Magdalene, she was like 48 and 43. But see, when Mary Magdalene ran away from home, she left home because she couldn't, it was hard for her to be around and not be the person she left. So they were astray. Mary Magdalene was always there. She was done as a boy. That's the part of Jesus saying, will make Mary Magdalene a boy. Amen. That's what your Bible says. It's in the book of Peter, where it said that Jesus told Peter that he would turn Mary Magdalene into a man. So was he talking to Peter, his father? Was Peter actually gay? Homosexual? Is that why Jesus wanted to turn Mary into a man? So that they could be a family? The story that we're given does not make sense. And they tell us we are all people from the dead. You could probably go back and find it, realize that you are part of it. You are part of that spirit because you're not part of that bloodline. Because there were many of those, like, okay, you say about Moses parting the sea. And then when you have this the movie Bruce Almighty, okay, he has that God gives him the power to be God, and he's sitting there and he's spreading the Red Sea. Because it was Spanish, the Red Sea, the Red Sea. Some people say it didn't happen. But that was the part of the religion that brought it into play because they couldn't have people knowing that there were humans on earth that could do that because they had to suppress them. Okay? Jezebel. I believe that Jezebel was the daughter of Cain and Annabelle. I believe Cain to be a version of Peter, Lucifer. People paused when I said that because I felt it. Because I said that, I said that me. I know. It's because we're going through this. We're doing it together. It's that part of you bringing what you perceive, like not arguing over it, but discussing it. Because you have all the Bibles. Okay, they have more. Where I at this museum, they have more Bibles. You can go look. Because when I was directed towards that book, I opened it up and it said about Samuel. Okay, and then I was talking to the girl there, and I was explaining some stuff, then she asked me a question, and after I answered the question, I went back to, I kind of went over and I looked in the Bible and I went like that, and we had been talking about Hannah and Hannah, and I questioned that. And then it said in there about her having a son. It's I told them that I want to look at these other books because I kind of want to I'll be able to like just be around them and understand because it's not the words in the book, but it's what the spirits represent in it and how it is perceived through the book and receiving the truth and bringing it together. And there are ones that don't want you doing that. It keeps you scrambled. That's why there's so many different books, different scriptures from different people were found and what have you. And but that was the different ages. People when Jesus was 12, they didn't know there's nothing about him because I believe Jesus ran away. And why I believe that, and I believe he's like he's Christopher, Saint Christopher. Okay, and, okay, Jesus ran away, or maybe Cain. I just got Cain as Saint Christopher, but did Cain hate his mother? Did Peter hate another Mary, feeling like she gave him up because she too lost a son? And I've been channeling through my stuff. And I've been questioning a lot of things because I kept running around. Like I kept getting visions that when I was around two, I kept running around looking under beds and hollering, Christopher, Christopher. So I question certain things and I take pieces of it from everywhere. Okay, we're talking about, I said, with regards to Jezebel, okay, because said Jesus is whipped, stoned, beaten, called name, yeah, like name. Jesus was a pretty boy. He knew he had gifts, and we know he used them. We don't want to like Jesus drank a lot. Like Jesus was taking, he drank wine. And he goes out and drinks vodka and stuff like that. I don't even, maybe that was available then. But hey, it was wine. You say he turned water into wine as referring to your body into the wine of Christ. You are the enlightenment, the oil, but it could turn actual water into wine. So if you could do that, hey, you drink a lot of wine too, wouldn't you? And that's the addiction. He had to, he would go through that stuff like anyone else. That's how he that's how he was able to become the teacher that he became. He was put through hell. You said he went to hell for your sins. He lived your sins right in my leg, and it's like something's pulling. See, when I channel with regards to Jezebel, and I pertain to uh, just parts of Nova Scotia and whatnot, there is a tree, and the body is beneath it. It was more of a unmarked grave, but hidden. And the reason why she was buried under the tree was because it was true. She was hungry. Maybe take to it after she had been stoned, beaten, dogs sicked after her, and raped. But people won't get that. She was gifted like, like Jesus, you know. And that if she was one of the elect family members, she would have the gift too, right? So did they bury her? And then the dogs or the coyotes or I got dogs came back and dug her up. I asked because I'm going to share my journal. So here's a path. Okay, there's no lot right. There's a tree, and this is stone, like the ripping and the stoning and the broken body. Broken body right here. And I did that on August 30th of 2022. And I got thinking, like, August, the months of the year actually make reference to people's names in the biblical sense. You know, just May and Mary, Gemini. Does August mean Augustus? So I went in and I brought it up. Roman Empire, right? You know, the British, and ones like the president looks up to the Romans, the Roman Empire. Hitler looked up to the Roman Empire. Your president looks up to Hitler, the Roman Empire. And then you have the Canadian Prime Minister, who is for the UK, right? Or not UK, for Europe. Are you seeing biblical times unravel now? In Canada and the US. You're keeping me distracted over there, but the real fight is here. Because the truth is working hard to come to light, and others are trying to stop it. Because I take what I see out there now, okay? And I take it and I compare it to when you first come here in 1749, 1750. I go to anything on Oak Island, over on George's Island. It's always the French, the French. Okay, with all due respect, it was Edward Cornwallis, still our seventh great granddad, and he was Swiss French. They thought of themselves as more Swiss. Now, it was military, church, spirituality, and family. And they started trying to tear the family apart and turn it on. Set up the See, after I died in 2019, I then in February, on February 5th, right, I went to Alberta to get medical treatment. And it was like the night before, like not long after, I don't know how long after I got there, but on 3 days later, I was sitting on my bed and I took out my notepad and I started drawing a picture. And I started with the eyes because you need the eyes to see the sight. And then I started drawing the face and the ears, and the mouth, and the nose. And then I put a bird in front of the head. And then I started moving down and I went like that as if it was going to be short, but it became the book, the world. And then it was a giant, and under the giant was the church. With a penis through the chimney. And through the sky, it had a bunch of K's and you know what you would perceive to be chemtrails. And out of the head of the face, there were creeds, angels, and what looked like empty. Beside the, like in the church, it was all like bubbles and everything like that. And the doors, and then these things moving through the door, and it had 666. If you actually look up, you read the number. Okay? And on each side of the church, there's a tree, and there's a cloak. And behind them, everything was burning. And I had done another page, and when I took it off, like spirits got me to get rid of the other stuff, and I ripped it up and burnt it, and just to get, but that would have been my journal, and I actually left my journals at Walmart. And when I went back to the guy said, "Oh, you can go." Well, we left off the counter, so he either lied to me and took it himself because he said it wasn't even worth. Now, I dated, and then it was World of Chaos, older, Mother Devil, Fascism, Fascism, Oligarchy. And that was slang for bag, slang for, and then I have an image of a woman, ugly on top. That's kind of what we're in right now. And then you have the hearts. I said it's kind of food. Mary Magdalene was died. This was 7 years ago. Okay. And it's like it was made from Virginia Cooper and crystal because it helped her to ground because people said she was crazy, but she was constantly connecting with spirits and she had to get her own help. But she attacked that man because he was raping. That's when Mary Magdalene came forward. You won't believe it. But like I said, look in the book of Thomas where Jesus is said to be telling Peter that he will turn water into a man to get into heaven, so that the mother, father, and child unite and come back together. Sanctity of him. So this was the picture in zoology. What they do now, you have CRISPR, right? They're manipulating DNA. So here's the creed, and the ear for hearing. Creed's here. The angels, the people, the old souls, and oh, right there, it looks like the ant. There's your giant. He even has a third eye, like almost there. See, there's the bird, eyes to see, and then it looks like he's seen blood. Bird. But see, when Edward Cornwallis scalped our seventh great granddaddy, he didn't die. Everyone thought it was an Indian. The Indian was there. He became the one on patrol. Indian patrol. So right now, I just heard that he was the one who did it and blamed it on Edward Cornwallis. I'm still chilling through that right now because there's two sides to the story. But see, the one I'm going to hear is my great granddad, my sixth great granddad, and his mom. And why am I going to? Especially because it was traumatizing to them. It was the scalping and the dragging away, and the horrific act what was done with me because they were protecting me because I channeled them and they need to channel. It was the first thing that I really ever channeled with regards to them. And it was my seventh great grandma and children. And she was speaking between English and different languages. And it was coming from me. And she was asking, she was saying, hi, they're coming, you gotta hide. Shh, shh, don't say anything, hide. But it was coming out like a lot of other languages too. And this was after I seen a ship, a triangular shaped ship on top of the water tower across the river. Ever watched the movie Frozen 2? Okay. When Elsa goes over to the island, okay, and she jumps down the hole, okay, she goes right down in the rabbit hole, down into the darkness, into the deep, into the pits to get the truth. And then she has to send it to her sister. So it's that part, like going into that deepness, going into the depths of the fear, the anger, the aggression, where your demons are, your demonic energies, what have you. It's when I said that, it was like people dropped again. It was like, well, fine, hey, it's deep memories. It's the PTSD. But spirit will keep triggering you until you look at it. This here is those deep seated memories. That's why it's manifesting into bloodshed again. Because you're being made to see things, see it now. People say you're not living in reality. You're not living in reality. Who are you to tell me what my reality is? Maybe I'm seeing things from a different perspective than you. But that's where, like, talking about this stuff, because everybody knows what this fucking means. And if you don't know what it means or understand what it means, yes, I'm not very conventional. My spirit gets, it's like the spirit gets irritated. It's because it's right there in plain sight, explaining it to you. That's that's the curse, and it was stimulated from somebody hurting someone and wanting to take everything from them that they took from them. Much like a revenge, Once upon a time, you were the queen who went on revenge. somebody did, you know? You say, like, Cain killed Abel. Was Fable? Fable? What have you? Was it actually Caleb? And, like, I'm asking because, like, if Jezebel was Cain and Annabelle's daughter, did Caleb do something to Jezebel? Was Seth involved? Was somebody seeing it happen, much like a voyeurism, and not doing anything about it? And that being the part where you say Cain killed Abel because the father chose, what was it, flesh? So it's that part of what aspect of the father are you looking at? That's the flesh. That's what it was. Choosing that violence, that rush of adrenaline, addiction. Is that why Cain killed Abel or Caleb? For how Cain found his daughter? Or maybe, like I said, maybe Jezebel was the son and was on the very feminine side, much like Jesus. I'm saying that Jesus was a pretty boy. And to some, he would anger them. And to others, they would love him because he was charming and charismatic. But in ways, too, he had a chip on his shoulder because maybe the church didn't treat him so well either because he's seen things, different experiences. So the church, religion didn't want him to be doing this. But then, did Jesus have a child with the prostitute? No, no, imagine with the actual prostitute and somebody do something to that child and then he would take the life of that person and then go told on. You know, people won't comprehend that because if Jesus knew that he was going to be turned in, is it possible that he asked someone to turn him in? Is that why it was like, and that would be the sacred step? But see, a lot of people don't see it that way, and that's fine. You know, that would explain the confusion, maybe, but maybe that would be just too simple and not being rude with that either. And here, when I first moved here and I had gone over to the church, because I sat in church, that was another time when I had another experience where it was like Mother Mary and Jesus was sitting, because when my mom comes, there's always another man with her. So he come over and we left a card and I read the card and it gave me Philippians 3:2. But then I was like, and when I was going down the rabbit hole, I was going and I was like literally looking through Deuteronomy and everything. And I don't look at the Bible a whole lot, as you can tell, because I watched a guy and he said he was asking this guy where a certain verse was in the Bible. And the guy said something about what have you, like Jesus didn't read the Bible, right? Jesus didn't read the Bible. You're saying that Jesus is basically, the narrator of the Bible. You put it together. How would he know where it was all at? Do you think he knew like who already told what to? He didn't use the Bible because he wasn't of the church. I believe Yeshua was more of the church in ways because he preached like going to the index. I'm doing this while I'm looking. Like, I can't find it. Did I? Oh no, there we go. That's weird. Equations. Just one second. Collisions 3:2. Right. Thank you. I appreciate all your patience. Lagi sekali, ya baik, kemudian. So we're gonna said we're going down the religious rabbit hole. So join me, or maybe my room's not my channel's not for you. It's okay. Oh, wrong place. So we're gonna go back. Like, okay, Ecclesians 3:2 is a biblical instruction from the Apostle Paul, found in the New Testament, encouraging believers to set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. This means focusing heavily on spiritual aspects of life, such as God, eternity, and spiritual virtue like faith and love, rather than giving excessive attention to temporary worldly concerns like money, power, or worldly pleasures. The verse calls for an intentional choice to orient one's thoughts, goals, and acts toward God's kingdom and eternal perspective. So it's to me, it's not wrong to have things or want things. It's the part of what are what are you what have you been willing to do to get that? Would you fuck someone over to get it? How do you treat others? If you're wanting power over someone other than yourself, then you need to go in because people shouldn't. Like, why do you have to have power over somebody else? Is it because it's you're so out of control you feel like you don't have control? And key aspects of the verse: focus on things above. This refers to spiritual realities. Okay, like I speak of, I go spirit to spirit. I told many people that I see your face, but I also see your spirit because my spirit sees it. Because that's why I said I go spirit to spirit, not visual, what have you. I go spirit to spirit when talking to people. It's being that's the being aware of yourself and being aware of the spirit, and that keeps you out of those what is perceived to be worldly pleasures because you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. Because if you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, my question is, why are you so concerned with what the Joneses have and start looking at what you have? And is it a perception that all that stuff makes someone happy, or are they trying to cover up from something else? Because you go through that anxiety, and like it's that you feel like you have anxiety, and everything's going to come in when you bring it in. It's like a girl I know, I was doing that for a while. We were going around, and she had a selenite. Okay, she had a selenite, and like it was on selenite on a necklace, and she had it in her shirt. Okay, and she was walking around everywhere, the mall and outside, everything, only into different places, and what have you. And we went into a crystal store, and we come out, like she was getting agitated. I was like, you have like take the necklace off because she was starting to have heart pain. And I told her to take the necklace off, and I told her, don't anything that absorbs that is meant to absorb negative energy, do not wear it around your heart. Okay? Because that's not that selenite or hematite or what have you, it draws it to it. And then it expands it, but your heart is so big that it can expand or it will suck in and it goes into you, it starts seeping into you. So when you're going out places, do not wear selenite around your neck, near your heart. Maybe even around like a pulse or something like that. You shouldn't like don't hold on to selenite and stuff that absorbs negative energy overload because you can always put it in your pocket. I would sometimes carry mine around in my purse, but I don't wear anything that absorbs negative energy. I don't leave it on my heart. So we're going to go back to this because religion is going to hit and I'm going to feel it. What religion practices Sharia law? Okay? What this is saying is right now you are already in a Sharia law. And it's just being brought to light. You're seeing it. You're seeing it now because what you think it was once hidden never actually went away. It was actually hidden. And now you're starting to see it, much like you're starting to see it again. And that's why things don't make sense. People are just like pulling out in front of you. It's almost like that person's energy spirit shifts and you kind of shift slightly. So it's like, because I had that a few times where it was like people just were right out, like they weren't thinking about anything, they're checking. And when that, I call it like when people are flying one minute and then they're aggressive. It's that spirit jumping. Right? It's that part of the spirit that is just feeling something. It's like if you watch the movie The Matrix, okay, and they have them jumping from person to person. Well, that's what it is signifying. It's the energy jumping through energy, and it's hijacking ones who are not aware of what they're observing. And this is what it's showing you. In hell, because of the system, seeing through the eye, speaking only with hearing no evil, speaking only with seeing evil. Well, it doesn't want you seeing it because once you see it, the evil becomes the evolution. And moving forward, the devil represents to devolve, to go backwards. Everyone figured we were moving ahead, and then it was just like, okay, so we'll go to Ecclesians, okay, because I brought that up. And then when I had that experience with where I said that the three people, there was, I'll get to that. Go through this. This. I'm all right. The rules all wrong. And I think that's even I knew this, okay? Focus on the above things. This refers to spiritual realities, the essential perspective and values associated with God's kingdom, such as peace, love, and righteousness. Okay, righteousness, they, they make that sound so degrading. But righteous, they like to play on words. But here's the real: it just needs to make right choices. The magnification of earthly things. The verse encourages a detachment from things on earth that are temporary and can distract from your spiritual growth. So the temporary is like your movies, your entertainment, what have you. Okay? It's keeping you distracted in ways that you're keeping yourself from being able to heal. because you're relying on something else outside of you, because you feel like it's that quick fix. And I can feel that. It's like right here. It's like, yeah, here, want me to help? Yeah, because that's what it feels like. It feels like someone energetically trying to strangle me. Or would you go get a noose for you? É certo, position eu mãe. E que tu puti que tu risa, se que muito que acho que tu se é pana que tu. My channel is a spirit to spirit. That's why I say my channel is not for everyone. This verse encourages a detachment from the earthly and temporary and can distract from spiritual growth such as greed, lust, impurity, and the pursuit of worldly recognition. They say, the idols. You idolize. So it's like I look and I see people idolizing certain people, and I sit back and I wonder why. And it's like they look up to those people more than they look up to themselves. Because I'll tell you right now, your authenticity is worth a hell of a lot more than any facility. Skin in the game, you know, and that like it's that part like a shift between my masculine and feminine all the time, and sometimes they come out at the same time. Yeah, but that guy should have so I broke it down, okay? And then it says here, a conscious choice. Set your mind is an active command indicating that believers are to deliberately choose to direct their thoughts towards what is heavenly and eternally. Sorry, eternal. Oh, okay. It brought me to this. Okay,どうしてかまといのしょのかやするい。確か。いや、どうい。中とくりや。Okay, this here was a book that the guy named John gave me in the psychiatric unit of the hospital. Okay, and the commandment, when it's a commandment, it took me to this because okay, what is okay? So the commandment that people have here, okay, is the 10 Commandments. Okay, you say it was a man. Okay, come from God, right? The man. What do you perceive to be God? Okay, the 10 Commandments are set of biblical. biblical principles that are fundamental to both Judaism and Christianity. Remember, I said, I believe that the Jews are like Judaism and Christianity because they come together, and Christians and Muslims come together. Okay, that's what you're okay. Now they are as follows. This is what it says here: "You shall have no other gods before me." Okay, I'm not being rude, but does he idolize himself that much? Considering we're told that we are made in the image of God, but I suppose that father can't have anybody too, because he's always going to have somebody underneath because he can't stand firmly by himself. Two, you shall not make yourself an idol. You're supposed to idolize him, because he's no God before you. First off, you put yourself first. When you put yourself first, then I guess the father shouldn't have to live with you, whether you love him or not. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Having or showing an excessive, high opinion of one's appearance, abilities, or work. Okay, so for the father, you're supposed to have low self-esteem. That's what it sounded like to me. Remember the Sabbath day to keep holy. Okay, so there's two different days. You know, Sabbath. With religions, Sunday, because there's one that does it on Sunday. Okay, and they say it goes by the calendar. Well, when you say about your calendar, do not say Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So is the Sabbath not supposed to be on the seventh day? Because even if you look at your calendar, oh no, on that one it doesn't have it. So let's check another one. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. Mhm. Okay, and if you go in and you look, okay, I can do this one. Oh, shit. Dang. Yes, it's like Zeus, grow up. Zeus is the one with the play there. So, hmm, see, that says Sunday, the beginning of the week. Okay, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if you look on there, it shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but Sunday is down here on this one because it's not like it. So that there is showing that there are two different perspectives. So why are you fighting over the differences? Now, another thing that brought me with regards to Jezebel, okay, because of this picture. I know they look like kids' drawings because it's channeling of the inner child. This Jezebel Lilith or was Lilith and Sophia actually Anna because you know her child on TikTok. Well, I say they Shrek killed. But how many times did she come back? And each time she came back, it was more and more insane. It's like that anchor, always the anchor. So when you're the anchor, you don't have breathing room until understand what it is that you're experiencing so you can have that because if you're having those feelings, it's because you're having that connection to that part of the spirit, whether it be what you perceive the Jezebel, the Jesus, Mary, or like Galactic Federation. And people think you're delulu. Oh, here's a little delulu. There's a fucking spaceship in like a pond. There's your delulu. Okay? This here, okay? Here's the family. Okay? This is why I say it brings you to Nova Scotia. Okay? This would have been, I believe, to be Jezebel. Okay? And it's part of she's no longer with us because you become that said to be spirit, the angel, right? Whether you're the angel of hell or you're the angel of heaven, whatever you perceive it to be. And there again, there is the tree. See, people will say you're the beautiful, but I know my sixth grade granddad. People said he was building ships. He wasn't just building any ordinary fucking ships. Direttore si tu pure chiamato tedesco culturale. E lo solo tu pure no cosa. Yes, tu pure chi no dai. Oh my jeez. I just heard you old fucker. What you were doing? And if you look at the family, these are the kids. Okay? Two girls and two boys. I'm just looking at the picture. My goodness, my cat was awfully sick looking. The cat, the dog, and the baby child. The dog, the god, the dogma, the god, the feline, okay? They like you have Anubis and Bastet. You know, it's that to say stuff like that, I feel my body shift. And certain names are triggers for other people because it's not their story, so it's like it goes off. knew this. He was said to be the dog. Like it showed with the dog face. Okay? And Saint Christopher was the dog face. The Saint, like to me, the Saint Christopher represents the child. And the child is put in the middle of the adult fights and then fights that have caused misunderstanding or somebody lying where it was like the story of Cain and Abel, Caleb. So that's what the like that's what the biblical text is saying to us that we are repeating it over and over again. Those are our stories. It's that part of prophecy. And what is a prophecy? It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you continue to believe that something is going to happen, it's like the illusion. If you can get enough people to believe it, then you're more likely to manipulate them and sway them to because that fight. You have to be this way or you have to be that way. You can't be this way. Because that society doesn't accept it, and that society doesn't accept it. I keep channeling a boy, a younger, like a youth, and they were dressed in a dress, and their father thought he was kissing a boy, another boy. And the father grabbed him and said, no, excuse to me, faggot of mine. No, no son of mine is, sorry, excuse me, let me figure, okay, just a second. No son of mine is going to be a faggot. And he aggressively, and he didn't go with it. And it's getting that the mother didn't do anything, she just said, go away. And then the boy took off. And I think I believe I was seeing that because I had the experience myself, like I was in a truck with someone, and just what they said kind of like triggered. I wanted another truck, but I mean, like what have you? But it was like that spirit was showing me what happened to me. And the person in the vehicle looked over at them like that and said that they had very sexy legs. So look at this, what the man, you know, I was getting in, and they did something. actually, He's sexually assaulted another person. But it traumatized him, it made him so angry and homophobic because they were made to feel a certain way because of their own sexuality, not only by their father, but by whoever it was that could. And that's another part of the Jezebel, right? Because when this spirit, like when I died in 2019, and this young girl, like between I would say between the age of 11 and 15, I would like usually got around 15 or thereabouts, but I'm saying between 11 and 15, and like they were very gray, and they had long black and big black eyes, and they were like wearing like a long dress, so it would have been something like that. Okay, and it was when I died and I was coming back into my body, spirit was coming back. I turned and beside me there was this girl looking at me face to face. And I went back like that, and she just screamed out like in a weird fashion out the window. And then when I went to Alberta in February, I was there, and I was laying in my bed, and I was like, yeah, I was waking up half awake, and I looked, and she was kind of up, like she was over me, like looking at me, and I freaked out, and I hollered, like I tried hollering for my dad, but I couldn't. I didn't have a voice. Like it was just like a ow, ow. And the same creepy way, the same way. It was like she scurried out the door. Okay? But I remember knowing when I had exorcist, it was like that. And then the day that I was raped in the spirit world, which people don't believe that, but hey, I went to my ex-husband's and I actually had Stephen inside me and it was a lot because there were two or more. People can laugh at that. Before you laugh, maybe you should do a little bit of homework. And I heard like I was like, well, that day in the morning, like I said, I looked in the physical, nothing there. And then you have Alice in Wonderland in the mirror and look in the mirror and see what you can't see beyond the looking glass. And it tells you where it's at. Over here, behind the speaker, there's two East Indian twins. Well, was one of the a female and had to, like I said, marry with a boy because was Yeshua and Mary Magdalene twins? And were they estranged? Because you have the Gemini twins, okay, but you could pick them as both men. And there was this being there, only this time they had short black hair. They were the same type of gray with black eyes. And instead of wearing the dress, they were wearing what I say looked much like a full on blue gray scuba gear, but really tight. So was that this little girl, this young girl, showing me what she went through, and that the twins were the parents, or was one of the twins one of the ones that stayed behind and watched the boys? No, you look at what you're seeing in the world today with regards to certain files, and that's really sensitive to a lot of people. But like I said, I don't see faces. I see spirits. So was one of the three involved, one of the three involved, or was there one there that was older? I'm not saying that they that because they did it. No matter whether they touched the person or whether they sat there and watched, you're just as guilty. It's like, because I would say, like, did college stay and watch? Because after I went through that experience, I was feeling like, well, they're gonna get caught. Because there was one there, like it was like I was being attacked, And I was fighting like it was actually was like an energetic brawl, but I was actually being shifted around and my pants were down to here, and I was screaming for help from other two others. People were banging on my door, but nobody was coming in. And it was like there was two there, but then there was one standing by my closet, and just like I just caught a glimpse, whether it was one of the twins that come in a different form. Was it, one of the ones that knew I was in trouble and projected in? People say, "You're insane." No, you really need to do a little bit of work and realize that everything is not physical. Said, you'll like me, hate me, like love me, loathe me, make you laugh, or make you cry, I'll fish you off. You want to, I said, punch me upside the head or, energetically attack me. Which so I get that. I mean, okay. But it's a good book of that's the news, right? It helps you get through every day because it keeps you from looking at it. Give me one second, let's not So I am gonna keep going down this rabbit hole. And then is here. Okay. You see back off and taking your shit. Okay, because when you search the word, I think meaning in the Bible, meaning of Bola in the Bible, okay, what it brings you to is the Bula, Peter, and Paul. Okay, remember, okay, Peter and Paul. Okay, who was Peter and Paul? Okay, so I'm looking at my ancestors. Okay, so if you look at, okay, we'll use Oak Island. If you look at John Smith and you look at Anthony Fletcher. When you go on Oak Island, they tell you about the two young men, young boys, and they're kind of referring to Donald Trump or Donald McGinnis, which hey, and then and then Samuel Bull. They put them as being younger people. But see, the, the young one, Samuel Ball, is 30. Donald McGinnis is 37. Right? So who are the two children? Who are the ones that they're really referring to? Okay, they're referring to young Anthony Vaughn, who would have been 13 at the time, and then young John Smith, who would have been 20 at the time. So the ones that you're referring to was the older John Smith, the Donald McGinnis, not Daniel, Donald, like actually Donald McGinnis, and Samuel Ball, and okay. So that was more of a clue because if you look in Samuel Ball's book, he left money to the church. Okay, let's see, my great granddaddy had my sixth great granddaddy had a religious seal, and when you look at his will, okay, the Reverend who baptized my sixth great granddaddy's children and was a witness or an executor to his will. So witnesses were Anthony Vaughan, John Prescott, and Joseph Dama, okay, right there was the witness. And when you look at Samuel Ball's will, he's the witness, or sorry, he's the executor. And then Anthony Vaughan over here, that's the son of the Anthony Vaughan and my sixth great granddaddy married into, or they married into each other because one of great granddaddy's daughter, daughters and grandchild, they married the Vaughns from them, right? So I know that just got weird. Oh, that's the hula. So that's the hula. You depict some depict Jesus one way, and you know you look in picture almost of the Last Supper certain ways or what have you. You know, Peter was the one. Okay, so what I'm seeing is trying to see who was who was Paul and who was Peter. Okay, was it talking about Jesus's father Peter? You know I said before Yeshua was the father of Jesus, but as I went further, I was getting that it was Peter because there's two Peters. One was the older Peter and one was the younger Peter. later would have been probably about 3 years older than I am. The military and go watch for her father was in the military and her mother was native. Look at what you say is happening in the world, and then look at the 1700s. Again, we're brought over here to rebuild in that sense. They wanted to stone us because we no, we just worked hard. So you're sent over, you're sent over not to really rebuild, but to try to keep the war going, to keep oblivious from the rest. My sixth great granddaddy, he had he did business with George Washington because they were both farmers. And you know, hey, who knows? Maybe my granddad even ran some mowers. I'll tell you if I had if I found out that he was doing something other than making stuff like that. You. God, he was trying to explain. So that's the bully. He was telling the church to back off. He wasn't taking their shit. He had a load of deeds. He had the shit all in. Maybe he wasn't a great man. But maybe he got tired of people taking advantage of him, his kindness, so he was really fucking asshole. And that's why I say, he's a bastard. I don't mean it derogatorily because of his father. I mean, like, holy shit, man. Listen to somebody once in a while and you'd save yourself a whole lot of fucking grief. It was like we stopped catering. It's like, did you get sick, old man, and then you called the daughter back? think the child's tired of carrying the burden. It was that part of, he he knew what he certain things, he knew what he was talking about when he came to the book. He was in the matrix, but he wasn't at the same time. I think when they killed him, or the group of people were, they killed him. He's dead. I think he's seen that going to happen. Because you think of a religious seal, okay? We're talking about religion down the rabbit hole, a religious seal. That's the connection to spirit. When you're seeing it on both sides, because it was like that, and then it's like your nerves just get so shot that you cater, but you grudge it at the same time. And sometimes, yes, he was very conceited, and there were a lot of times where it didn't matter if he grew to be. When he did that, he had like an immature adolescent child. Right? Spirit, that spirit knows exactly what he's talking about. So, if you're experiencing it, make these hijack you. Fíjate, como que hace, ¿no? I think most people, plus, I don't bother with that. Spirit to spirit, because that's the same thing if you look in the Google Brothers, because the Google Brother trial for the man that was said to have been burnt in the fire was the godfather. And their father had died like 5 years prior, 5 or 6 years prior, and left the property. That's why I say, like, who's seeing that, what happened that day? Because I'm seeing something totally different than what they write and say about it. Because whenever you question this stuff, because okay, you take I said about like okay, one of them in the house, like other than the ones that the one looked like he would appear like he would have been like Candace. I mean, he was quite a big man, and he stood up. He could have been about 6'9", 7 foot. Okay, and then the other one at the other end, if they stood up, they were both 9 to 10 feet tall. And he had longer, straggly hair and strangling long beard. Really unkept. So, like I said, it was shown because I like what I see is that when Jesus left at 12, he had to figure out how to survive. And then the 40 days that he had to go through the depths, he had to find God. It's true. One day here, I just like freaked right out and I went running through the woods looking for Christopher. I come in the path and there was a cross. It was like the wood was, it was like it was placed there in the cross. And I dropped to his feet. I dropped to the foot of it. And then I heard a voice come, pick up the stick. And that was the first day for the rest of the start of the book journey. It was like I started feeling more. And that's when I went in the hospital and I had to go back to trauma so that she could see what happened. And it helped. It was like I took her to that past life regression because even as a past life, it is a different one. And you breathe it or you heal from it. So when I looked it up, Neckham was 11.579, and Krona was 6'8" feet, 6'8". And if you look them up, they'd say it was like a fat or something like that. But that was the story. That was their truth. It may have been different names, but the same reference. Incredible. Beautiful. And then Terra means earth. So if you look, you have all what appears to be like chemtrails lines through the earth and everything, and caves and caves and caves. Well, caves to me represent racism, discrimination. Like I heard people say, that people were black. I know that. But to me, it's a form of racism, no matter whether it's black on black or black on white or white on white, or it doesn't matter. Or religion on religion, that is the representation. Says, love me now. Mother Earth is saying, love me. I'm imploding. I'm on fire. It's full of race. It's full of races and struggling with war and fighting. That's why you see The flames, the clocks with the flames. They're all men. This represents the big businesses, big bucks, whatever. The penis right there, it's the acting you from behind. It's coming up from behind. You can't see them coming, so they smash it. That's what they're saying with regards to this is coming at this not the community, because church is community. It is supposed to represent human. And I know some churches, people feel like they're healing from church. But ask yourself, you're healing from church, but then you're going out and you're discriminating against somebody else's beliefs. So you're shooting down that person's church, that belief, and that's what it refers to in the book with regards to. It's not just a person; it's a belief system. You want to have a conversation. Because one was different from the other, so they teased and it got way the fuck out of control. It became frenzy. So if the Father chose flesh, what kind of God are you? So we're going to go back to the Ten Commandments because we just finished the Sabbath to keep it holy. So go worship them. Honor your father and mother. That's where it's the part of love your mother and father. Love both your masculine and feminine sides because you know that part of your mother and father. You shall not murder. They wrote the commandments, they want to put it up in schools. You shall not murder, but they're out killing and they're saying it's war. It's to protect you. So they're saying it's okay to kill if you say you're protecting someone. Or you have war because you're protecting the country. So we got to murder innocent people. But yet they're telling you, you shall not murder. See, religious groups murdering each other all the fucking time. It's a hypocrite. You shall not commit adultery. What's the name of Donald Trump's spiritual person? White, all white. Wasn't she cheating on her husband? You know, Ben. But they'll put the Ten Commandments out there, and they'll expect people to live by it, but they don't live by it themselves. That's you know, you shall not steal. Well, your fucking government is stealing from you. You're being stole from every system. but they want to put that up in the classroom and say, you shall not steal. But they're caught stealing all the time. What's the example? And, hey, it's not a little hypocritical, it's a lot. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. The line, seeing something or repeating something that you've been told that you had to see again. That, aren't they doing it? Aren't they doing it to you all the time? They'll do it to your face. They do it to your summits and stuff. Yeah, no, you see it. You shall not covet. Yearn to possess or have something. You shall not vet, uh, covet, meaning yearn to possess or have something. They do it all the time. But isn't Donald, you're president right now, isn't he yearning because he wants Iceland, he wants Canada. The little boy wants. I know it. And you're the one that want, and he's the one that wants to put the Ten Commandments up in the school, front and center. I don't care which part or the affiliation to. These commandments are recorded in the Bible, Exodus and Deuteronomy. They serve as a moral foundation for ethical behavior and worship practices. Seriously, dude, how fucking big is your ego? It's that part. It's okay. It's do as I say, not as I do. It's okay for me to do it, but don't you do it. Because if you do, you are beneath me. But in all actuality, the big head needs to release some stuff. Now, this John at the hospital, didn't you say John the Baptist was quite right out there in the way he spoke? This guy wrote in the book because he has different verses, what happened in scripture. The human race is self-destructive and disobedient to God. Self-destructive. What does self-destructive mean? If you're not loyal to yourself, if you're not healing yourself, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not listening to yourself, right? Your true inner needs and not the physical needs. They should have been. See, okay, he has. They should have been destroyed in 2000 BC. Oh no, no. 2000 BC. Okay. Key events. One third destiny of UR around 2060 BC. Armenu of UR founded the third dynasty of the powerful Sumerian dynasty. By 2000 BC, this dynasty was well established, marked, and by extensive building campaigns and a flourishing of Sumerian literature. Construction of palace of Gnosis. Gnosis. The Minoan civilization on the island of Crete saw the construction of great stone palaces, including the famous palace of Gnosis. These palaces featured advanced archaeology, or sorry, architectural designs, including indoor plumbing and were central to Mayan culture. Did you hear that? Indoor plumbing, and this was 2000. Mathematical achievements in Babylonia. The Babylonians developed a scientific mathematical system based on the number 60, which included dividing circle into 360 degrees. This system laid the groundwork for future mathematical concepts. So right now, you will worship and hear about money. You are worshiping the God of mathematics and of numbers. Right? And when you see things from a geometrical state, sacred geometry, it's still mathematical, but you're not seeing numbers. You're seeing the shapes, the symbols. spirituality and the numbers, the matrix. And techno, technological developments. The 20th century BC was a period of significant culture transitions. The Indo-Iranian expansion reached the Iranian Palate and the Indian subcontinent, while the Beaker culture in Europe marked the introduction of the Bronze Age. Migrants and settlements. Around this time, various migrations occurred, including the Malay people moving to Indonesia islands, bringing rice cultivation with them. In northern Israel, Neolithic, yeah, I've seen this one the other day, settlements began to emerge. These events illustrate a period of growth and development across different regions, setting the stage for future civilizations and culture advancements. Okay, so they're saying we had the stuff we have today, they're saying that these 2000 BC, we had it then. But people will argue and say, "Oh, well, that's not possible because they said that everybody was dirty." That's because, like, because they continuously have that system where you have to have the rich class, the middle class, and the poor class. But my question is, why is that not monopoly manipulation? I have to ask that first. Why would anybody even think that that made sense? Why? So the ones at the top would always think that the ones at the bottom were the parasites, and the ones at the top were actually the problem. Because they are the ones that lead you to believe that you have to be told why you're rich. How's that working? Seriously. Can anybody tell me how that works now? We don't know who created them. Oh, I'm just checking something. I appreciate it all. Reading. Son of a bitch! And people, I looked up who were the ant people, because ants will come in and they will create colony upon colony, and they just to people, people feel ants are invasive. The ant people in ancient times, the ant people of the new cinema, are considered ancient beings in Hopi mythology who played a critical role in the survival of the Hopi tribe during global catastrophics. They are described as generous and industrious, providing shelter and sustenance to the Hopi in times of need. Okay, so their subterranean dwellings are said to resemble radiation-proof bunkers, and their teachings include food storage and agriculture practices, much the way you see the ants. We're killing them, okay? Destroying, okay? The ant people are also believed to have connections to ancient civilizations such as the Babylonians and the Egyptians, and are seen as custodians of ancient knowledge. So we're picking, this is the rabbit hole, we're picking apart my drawing. Grazie al numero, ce la cariamo. Okay, so now we're going to go creed. Okay, who were the creeds in ancient Greek religion? Okay, so this is an idea because you know happening right now. Okay, and this is the creeds. Creeds in ancient Greek religion. The ancient Greeks did not have a formal creed or a set of beliefs that defended religion. Instead, they worshipped a multitude of gods, each with their own domain and attributes. The closest Greek equivalents to the belief were Ajabia, reverent respect, and trust in others of faith. These terms can clarify relationship between humans and the and a spiritual and a supernatural entity, indicating that the Greeks believed in the existence of gods who influence all aspects of human life. The ancient Greeks believed that the gods were involved in all aspects of human life: work, theater, justice, politics, marriage, and battle. They did not have a separation of church and state, and the gods were very human with recognizable flaws like jealousy or vanity. This belief system is developed, embedded in their culture, and influenced their daily. So this is okay. This must be what okay. My body's really like it's that's what's okay. They weren't separate from church or state. Their gods were very human. They had flaws like jealousy and vanity, and it was embedded in the culture to influence their daily lives. So it was that's a part of taught behavior, learned behavior. So let's go see as another part to it. Who were the creeds in ancient times? The creeds in ancient times were formulated to address theological disputes and clarify the core beliefs of Christianity. So that's your extra like what you perceive to be the Apostles' Creed, Mason Creed, Assyrian Creed, and Creed of Gellingston are the four formal creeds that have become known as the infinite creeds of Christendom. These creeds were developed to ensure the faith remained true to its core teachings and to provide a framework for understanding the nature of God, Jesus, and the Spirit. Biblical creeds, faithful saying, Jesus is Lord. Well, he's been Lord. Yeah, he has been Lord. And um, three New Testament creeds, the New Testament, Timothy, 1 Timothy 2:5, Philippians 2, Phillips 2, 6 to 11, 1 Timothy 3:16. Christ died, was raised, then list of eyewitnesses in the resurrection, Corinthians 1 Corinthians 15, 3 to 10. Okay, For what? Christ never died because Christ consciousness don't die. He turned to it was like to spirit. And then people didn't. Okay, so the face represents God of all zoology. Giants, okay, which right here, giant over the church, represents like big businesses, big box stores, like the industry, corporate. The cock, the ego, the ants, the people who work for ants. You build up, they destroy. You build up, you destroy. Hearts represent the love, the crown, heart of Christ, or the crown of Jesus. You could say the crown, as growing up, you sacrificed the crown, okay? And now you're taking back your crown, okay? You're opening your crown, you're opening that connection. Because you're opening up to what you're perceived as not that you do not see because you see it as evil. Evil never wants you to see it. Ears for hearing, eyes for seeing, observation. The bird, eye of, I have an eye of Taurus, but it's when the eye of Taurus and wall comes together because you look at the shape of the wall and you look at the shape of Taurus and they're meeting in the middle. The angels, right up here, they represent the people, the old souls, the ones coming down in consciousness to awaken and help people. The creeds of the zoology, there's the different beings that they speak of that helps to bring, but they like you'll call them the fallen angels, but they felt they were here to help, but they fell into the beliefs. But certain things they brought, but didn't teach the people. So they have to, that's why I say, like, it's not part of, they have to come back and fix what they screwed up. The church represented the cabal. Church, I'm talking about period. Being up from behind, and then now I have now, because it's science says now, where it becomes, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't have like things to it, but like any religious congregation, have certain things that make a lot of sense, and then some of it is just it's a lot of overkill and it's about control. where, hey, the Sharia law is the father's law. And then you have the lawless one who say Lucifer actually have lawless, or was that the father that came in and gave the illusion that it was lawless? The father was actually lawless. That's why you have the Ten Commandments. But I still, now you'll say, oh, you used to do good things, you used to do your scriptures entering commandments. He talks about Walt Disney, very tempted to God and Jesus, and turned very yes, Walt Disney 29. God and Jesus, I can't speak for the millions, billions, maybe most churches are empty. The reason is that believers can't reaffirm the beliefs in God Jesus. To begin with, so, and then now it has God put 10 commandments. Do not steal. Do not kill. Do not convert your neighbor's spouse. Do not use the Lord's name in vain, God or Jesus. Do not be jealous or deceiving. Continuing 10 commandments. Love your brothers and sisters. Do not be jealous or use sloth or deception with brothers and sisters. Don't lie to or cheat your fellow sisters and brothers. We show honor and praise our Lord's, our Greek goddess, or Lord Christ, Jesus Christ. Honor God's holy Sabbath and day of rest, Sunday. Okay, John the Baptist. The Baptist religion. The reason I know that people say he was called the Baptist because he was the baptizer. He would baptize people. It was the belief. And that was what he wrote as the true 10 Commandments. Because that makes a lot more sense because it's directed towards the people and not ego. It's not like worship me, worship me. It was looking to each other. So I would presume the way he's talking there is it was funny because, like, he took his work slaughtering people, taking land and saying, "Well, you get this land, you get that land." That's much like the father coming and saying, "I'm taking over now. You need to stay in place." It's like, yeah, who teaches again, right? That part of, they say that disobey, dare you disobey my rules? What type of rules are you talking? Because when you look at the criminal code, holy crap, it's for maybe you would look in there and see that if you started to get a fine for administering noxious gas. That's like they get out the meter stick or the ruler or the strap. When I was younger, my dad would hit me with the I put my hand in the way and I'd grab the girl. It wasn't abusive, but that's what they knew growing up. But it's your system, and you allow the system to take your parenting from you. So then you don't see a lot of what your children are doing because it's all behind the veil. Because you're being distracted with work. People will say about these other cultures and what have you. You ever look, they're actually family oriented. The village helps. A family is there to help one another because it's not easy raising a family. With regards to Jezebel, if Jezebel was a boy and Jesse, they got teased, so they got killed. That is something passed down, or it comes from an experience when you're younger. And when something like that happens, it doesn't matter who did it, what background they have, or what have you. Hold something against everyone that you feel. When you start and you're able to read the room, like what have you, you will see that you have to distance yourself. It's not about like if you have a friend, it's not about not being that person's friend anymore, but distancing yourself so that that reflects on you. But when they mistreat you, it's not about just standing there and taking. Keep your fucking hands to yourself. But hey, there's other ways of expressing yourself because it's that part of, throw something this way. So hey, oh, like, you know, make them see themselves. Because those are the ones that think it's okay for them to behave like that. But if you behave like that, then you're the victim. You know, I'm going to keep going down this religious rabbit hole because this is the spirit channeling. And like I said, truth and reconciliation is coming up soon. But truth and reconciliation shouldn't have just a specific date. It should be every day because it's not part of the healing with the spirit, not the system. Started feeling strange. So I just closed my window because I was detecting the spirit there. Or it's some of those ones that do actually have those invisible tools. It's like they put them on. You know, I may not physically see, but I see. And some of them leave in their faces. Actually. You know, when like if you look up Jesse in the Bible and you look at the bull on the outside, right? I mean, keep talking about it tonight. I got that answer. I can do that too another day. This was about Jesse, and then we'll go further because it all goes back to the true reason why you say that came true. You say obedience. Okay, back and you know, your own experiences, your own family. And I was just like, what story did you? I'm talking about the the more you sit with your grief, the more you're going, the more you're going to stay. And that's when the grief is going to start dropping. So it can be done. there, I just felt like somebody just started smashing on the wall. So it's like, don't do that. Ask yourself what is so powerful, blessed that you should really think because it's a memory that's coming up that you keep trying to walk through. And I can feel that because people think it's easier to just walk it away again. It's going to come to the surface every time you look through it and heal from it. And it's real truth and reconciliation. The spirit is the truth and reconciliation. Going back to the beginning when it all separated. You know, you think this way you see Adam and Eve, they were first humans. So they would have to be having sex with their siblings, right? With how many children can women have? And, in 1 year. So you say that humans were created from Adam and Eve, but they only have one child in 11 months. Because you can have two babies at once. Say 12, right? Because, you shouldn't really be having sex after that. So it was very like, I don't have to be having sex with his own daughter. I heard other people say, and fathers couldn't have sex with guys. But was it Guy and Uranus? Because that was Guy and Uranus. They were good until she had children and then it was competition. That was the jealous. And it was jealous of your own children. And when you're jealous of your own children, I have to ask what's wrong with you. Seriously, it's a legitimate question. What is wrong with that way of thinking? To be jealous of your own children, but then it's worship the mother and father. Don't be original. Don't be authentic. Follow the mother and father. They did all right. It didn't matter what side you were on. So there's part three to the religious rabbit hole. Like this is how I'm channeling that, how I'm receiving the biblical aspects of things. Because you're teaching them the war of it. So okay, let's get through the war so that we can get to the so that we can get to the healing. In order to get to the healing, you have to communicate what the fucking war was about. Like things are passed down from generation to generation, but hey, you're just looking at the same old fucking paperwork. Just somebody else is wording it a little differently instead of you actually figuring out how to do it yourself. And whoever is trying to shut me down, they'll let the police seek up before you look what they used to do. I will go by spirit story because I'm getting all sensitive. And that's why I look at the fucking Virgin. Fucking try, like, I'm saying, like, it's that war is like nobody wants to be wrong. But you're sure they're not going to get, excuse me, holy crap, excuse me, you're not going to get to truth and reconciliation that way. And right now, it's pushed for like things to like come through, but instead of it coming through, you're too busy freaking criticizing each other, like thinking about other religions, and you're going to kill this people, these people, and that, and this, and that, and this, and that. Holy snapping arseholes. When are you going to get sick of the killing and stop saying that, well, that side's doing it? No, we're all doing it. We just don't want to admit to our own doings because that would make us guilty too, right? But because we won't look at our own self, our own side, that makes us a hypocrite too. So I say it doesn't matter what side you're on. If you're not going to listen and hear, and I mean to each other, it's like, here, you got the pen. But you shouldn't need to say, here, you got the pen. So as long as they got the pen, they get to speak. It's not about who's got the pen. It's about learning how to allow each other to share it and feel safe. Feel like, if I speak something, then these people are this, or this people are that. In actuality, you're both feeling the same fucking way, or you wouldn't be experiencing that. So this is like I'm finding out like this is what led me to here. Like everything was always so fucking brutal, and then they have the audacity to say we would have put 10 commandments up on the front wall so your kids can see and say, hey, worship the ego. No, take the ego and shove it up in its own ass. Yeah, dog that likes to smell someone else. Yeah, and cat likes to lick its own. It's like the cat and the dog was a forbidden love. Because one was supposed to be a religion, one was supposed to be spirituality, and was never understanding each other in the middle. Right? And when people say, "Oh, look, like I know when people are uncomfortable with me, and hey, being honest, I like if you don't want somebody else marrying you, then you have to compromise. Spend time, shattered vision, see the worst in each other, and we forget the best. We forget the times before it. We'll go down the road, just rabbit hole, because this is where spirit has me right now, and it's sorting through sorting through. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And well, I have many lessons of great help to anyone and everyone who wants to find see excellent one shot be big, bold, brave. Most importantly, do yourself your authentic self. Be true to yourself, be kind to yourself, be true and kind to others, and know that you have more strength than you can comprehend at times. It's that part of you don't want others reflecting you. That's what we need to look in our own mirror. This to me is a mirror because I'm seeing myself. I'm being forced to look at myself. I'm being forced to see myself. And that's the part of the spirit that is coming back to me too, because it's that part of my insecurities, my hypocritical way of thinking. You came here to learn from one another, not to give a shit, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or energetically. But you'll do what you will. But when the same thing comes back at you, ask yourself, what right